surprised that you'll have to approach them and tell them that those teachers are civil servants. That's just normal.
It should be normal, but sometimes you have to remind people, especially some of them that were part of this whole process of being a teacher first before they went into politics. Once they go into politics, probably they only see St. Martin as a whole and they forget where they come from. But basically, you have to remind them as a union, you have to remind on several things. Okay, and one of the things that we also reminded them on is that we are no longer eilandgebied St. Martin, but we are country St. Martin, so that the besluiten, the resolutions of your working relationship had to be changed. So even though it ended up that quite a number of years after we received them, but with pressing forward, the teachers of the public schools received that resolution stating from when they started to work, and they are now a part of the what you call country St. Martin.
So I can assume now is the best time for you as president and for all the teachers. You have a minister with a long background in education, so things should be going beautiful now.
Well, I wouldn't say that, and that would not be my conclusion, because already the school year started on the 12th of August, and the amount of calls that we as union to receive from persons working in public education warranted for me to take the phone one time and call the chef of the cabinet of the minister and say to the chef of I need to have a urgent meeting with the minister. And the urgency of the meeting was because a number of teachers received letters instead of, a letter welcoming them back to the new school year and wishing them all the best of health and whatever. It was a letter that had a threatening tone, punitive measures and all kind of things, and the topic of it was sick leave. So people that wasn't sick get a letter about sick leave. And we do have a sick leave policy, which the union is familiar with. But when we look step by step of the process that were being given out to people, especially persons that told us, but I didn't have these amount of sick days that they are referring to, and could explain that one person say, oh, this is something that my child, for example, had an operation, so I had to be there. It was not me specifically that was sick. People that was on maternity is not sick leave. And they all were mixed up to each other and got these letters.
So that came from the Minister of Education?
No, they would give you the impression that it's the Minister of Education indicated that he has a new policy, so that's why they are sending this to people. But as a union, I had to step forward and really explain to the minister what I found about this letter that was actually worrisome. Because if there are amendments to any policy or any new policy, before it is handed to my members, and this is what I consider, DPE is constantly disrespecting, ignoring that these are unionized workers, so they don't call the union to discuss nothing with the union, and when push comes to shove, they send it, and even have the nerves to call in people and say, oh, the minister has a new policy. Now, Oral, when you ever heard that if somebody else is on sick leave, after 2 years, they reduce your salary with 10% to 90. After the 3 years, they reduce it to 80. But in that process of a person being on a long-term sick leave, there are other policies that would apply. You, as the employer, can ask for a herkeuring, that they would say in Dutch, a herkeuring, which is a medical, you could say a medical check over of the person. And if that person is found to be disabled, which means not able to work anymore, there is a policy for that. There is a road for that. But I never heard about after 4 years, you're going to be fired. If you're on sick leave, you're going to be fired. So there already, that sounds like a threat. Now, if they do not know, HRs in every company should know the different rules and how to intersect. Just imagine what is being coming down to teachers now. Or if you are sick leave, you're calling sick more than 3 times in a period, you wouldn't have to go to SVB after 3 days being sick, but by the first day that you're sick, you have to report to SVB. And if you report after 10, it will be deducted from your salary. Things of that nature.
You tell me this came from the minister?
No, DPE sent it. The public education, head of public education, send this letter and sign this letter. It wasn't signed by the minister.
So what did the minister say when you...
When the minister wasn't aware, as he said, he is over the school as school board, and these things have gone out without his knowledge. So we were asking also for them to be pulled back in. Each case of a person that is sick has to be looked at individually. And why I'm saying this, because I feel as a union, it is also the obligation of an employer, just like how it's the obligation of the patient to make sure that their recovery process is speedy and to also cooperate towards their recovery process, the employer also. So when you send my members a letter like this, that's like a lot of them putting up their eyebrows, but I'm here at school with this happening. What is this? What is going on? And then to analyze the step by step that is put there, that is not in the policy. So that means somebody on a good Monday morning has decided to amend the policy to their likeness and then send it out. And once they get teachers telling them, oh, the minister have decided on a new policy.
Without the knowledge of the minister.
Well, and without the knowledge of the union. When you get in front of the minister don't know anything about that. But I had, as a union, to say to the minister, any new policy and any amendment has to come to a body that used to be called the KOA. I guess you know about that. It is now called the CCSU, which is Committee for Civil Servant Unions. Okay? And that has to come to the table. It has to be discussed. That's why we are now in that body discussing everything about the police, the function book, the placement, and the appeal committee, the placement committee, how that should be formed, all those discussions and things like that. So I don't think that DPE should be no exception to the rule. And as long as they do not respect the union, they cannot expect cooperation on these matters.
So then, did they retract the letter?
I am waiting because I just had a meeting on Wednesday with the minister, and I'm waiting. And all the persons that called me about the letter, I am also instructing them that they must answer their grievance. Just don't take the letter and sit down. Their grievance, they must answer about it. There were teachers, that went through an operation last year. They came back to school, They are now in school. Is that the way you're welcoming them back in August, sending them a letter to talk? This kind of story. That's what threatening with the punitive measures, according to me. And this is something that is constantly happening at the level of DPE.
Yeah.
We feel, and this is one of the strong points that also came out of the Congress that I attended, that we have to look at the well-being